Welcome to the Hoops With Us podcast. And today I am joined by a very special guest, Brian Petruzzelli. He is the Director of Recruiting at the Hoop Group. Brian, how you doing today, man?
Good, Alex. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining me. So, Brian, the first question that I have for you today, man, is just tell us a little bit about your journey before and with your time with the Hoop Group.
Yeah, so I'm originally from New Jersey, so I've been around Hoop Group basically my entire life. I grew up on Hoop Group. I was a high school player, went to Hoop Group camps. When I was an undergrad, I was working camps, so I've always been around it. Quick background, played at Roseville Catholic High School, which is now a prominent national powerhouse. I played with Jamil Warney, who's the all-time leading scorer in the American East Conference, played at Stony Brook, so I played with some really good players there. Then I went on to play at Newman University, a small school just outside Philly. Played there for a year, had a cup of coffee, as they say. We don't play too much, but transferred to Montclair State. When I got there, I wasn't playing, just got right into coaching, was an assistant coach with my father's high school team at Governor Livingston. I was a coach in the New Jersey Roadrunners organization for 2 years, and I was just started to get on the camp scene, working camps. Got a lot of connections from working camps, stuff like that. Was really fortunate to get on with Travis Ford his first year at St. Louis. I know he had Phil Forte on, who's a good friend of mine. A few episodes ago, we were grad assistants together at St. Louis. Amazing time. He's done an unbelievable job rebuilding that program, which was really prominent nationally under Rick Majerus before his tragic passing. So I had a great 2 years there. Moved on to St. Peter's in an administrative role, support staff role. I was kind of director of ops, video coordinator, did a lot of scouting, preparing different recruiting schedules for coach. And I worked there for Shaheen Holloway, who was the MAC Coach of the Year this year. Coach Shaw and I go way back. My father was an assistant at St. Pat's when he played. So I've known him since I was, 4 feet tall. So it was awesome getting to work for him for a year. He rebuilt that program, and it's really unfortunate. They beat Iona 3 times this year, beat them in a MAC tournament. I think New Jersey was going to get about 3 or 4 teams in that NCAA tournament this year. So it's sad on all measures, but it's really unfortunate for Jersey.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, man, Hoop Group. So that's kind of my story.
Awesome. That's awesome. So the next question I have for you is, during this time of pandemic, you guys at the Hoop Group have been doing virtual training sessions to keep guys working on their game, get as many guys as you can to join. Just give us a little rundown on what goes on during these sessions.
Yeah, so we started this, I believe it was the 3rd week of March. I think we're a week ahead of everybody else. You see a lot of AU organizations doing this now, but we were kind of ahead of the game. We have our coaches and directors running different workout sessions from our headquarters that are obviously on Zoom, like everything else in the world right now. So it's high school and middle school kids from usually about 4th grade all the way up to seniors that are doing this training. I run some sessions. Coach Mike Rice, who's obviously Division I head coach himself, runs sessions. Tiny Green, who's a really big name on the girls' side, he runs sessions as well. So we've gotten kids, I believe, from 15 to 20 different states, 3-4 different countries, all doing this. So it's really cool, not only to help kids during this time still work out, but also for the Hoop Group just to be able to reach so many different kids and let them know about things that we do. And then Monday, we're launching a new virtual platform called Beyond Hoops Academy. And we've partnered with the nation's top college consultant, Chris Rim, and DJ Sackman, who's a skills trainer, that a lot of kids in New Jersey, some of the best high school players work with him in skills training. And we've partnered with him to create a 20-day program that's going to help kids that want to play college basketball through training with DJ, strength conditioning training. We'll have recruiting seminars, and then consulting with Chris Rim, where he discusses what kids need to be doing when filling out applications and submitting essays and stuff like that to get into the school of their choice. So that's kind of everything's virtual now, like everybody else.
Yeah, like you just said, the virtual world has taken it over during this time of pandemic, and I think it's a cool way to keep everyone in the basketball community like working on their game. And it just I know it's a weird time right now, but it kind of just keeps everything rolling. Not even though that we can't all be in the gym together and like you guys having your camps and tournaments this summer, but it's a very cool way to keep everything kind of going, if you get what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, absolutely. Yeah, just trying to keep kids busy during this time. I think parents like it more than anybody.
Absolutely. All right, Brian. So the next question I have for you, man, is you touched on it in a little bit in your introduction. You spent some time at St. Louis and St. Peter's with their teams. Just give us a little rundown of the experiences that you had there and some of the stuff you learned along the way with those two programs.
Yeah, I think from a coaching side, and obviously my goal is to get back into college coaching. I think the most unique thing about those two programs is that they were both rebuilds. St. Louis had gone to the NCAA tournament in 2014 under Rick Gutierrez and hadn't been back since. So in that first year, people, I think, were selected second or dead last in the Atlantic 10, ended up finishing 11th, I believe, which was a really good season for us. Won 12 games, but people thought we'd win 6 or 7. Won 12, super overachieving. Second year, we went just above 500. Lost in the conference quarterfinals, had a big win against Virginia Tech at Madison Square Garden. And then the third year, the year I left, they won the Atlantic 10 championship at the Barclays Center this year. So, I was missed out on that, but I was at every single Atlantic 10 tournament game that they had supporting them. But just learning under Travis Ford, who's a guy that has unique in his own sense. He has never been an assistant coach. He played at Kentucky under Rick Pitino. He was the backup point guard in the game where Christian Laettner hit the shot. So he was a great player, learned from a great coach. And then he was a head coach from then on, right after college. He was 26 when he got his first head coaching job at Campbellsville and NAIA school. Went out to Eastern Kentucky, UMass, Oklahoma State, and then St. Louis. So getting to learn from him, seeing him in player development, seeing him being in every recruiting meeting, seeing how things operate was pretty special for me. And then the community at St. Louis is unbelievable. That's, anybody that's never been to the city, first of all, it's really a hidden gem in the United States. It's an unbelievable city. Mad sports fans, and I mean mad by just loyal, just love the Cardinals, love the Blues, and love St. Louis basketball. So that community at the school in the city was amazing. And then with Shaheen Holloway, getting to work with him and those players and getting to come back home and trying to rebuild that program that John Dunn really had going for a while. They won the MAC when they had Keedron Clark, who was one of the most prolific scorers in NCAA history. So getting to go there and seeing Coach Sean his first year as a head coach, going from a guy that had 20 seasons as a head coach to working for someone that's never been a head coach. He was unbelievable in that first year, just keeping his composure, really overachieving, and then won Coach of the Year in the MAC this year. And we had some great players, some great guard play, especially this past year. So like I said, really unfortunate that they couldn't continue their year.
Yeah, man, it's a shame that this all had to happen. Basically, just put the basketball world on hold for a little bit, but hopefully it will be over soon.
Right.
All right, Brian. So the next question that I have for you today, man, is like I was just saying, during this time of pandemic, the recruiting process has taken a strange turn with the Zoom calls as we're doing right now, with kids seeing virtual visits and talking to coaches a lot more on the phone and with the Zoom. From your eyes, what do you think is the current landscape of recruiting?
Right. Yeah. And I think, that question is a little broad in the sense that it's kind of different for Division 1, 2, and 3. One of the things that anybody I've talked to, regardless of what level they're trying to play at or what level they are, one of the things right now that's more important than anything, if you're a player and you're trying to reach out to a coach, relationships and information are the two things coaches need if they want to recruit you. When I say information, it's when you're reaching out to a coach or if you have an AU coach reaching out for you, get that coach all the possible information they can get. Who your AAU coach is, who your high school coach is, even other coaches that have played against you. You never know who can vouch for you. People are going to rely on third-party people in the recruiting process because we just can't get out and see kids. And at the Division I level, to recruit a kid based strictly off game film is really hard. So it's, you probably Division I coaches probably saw a lot of kids during the winter, not as many obviously as the spring and summer. So they kind of have an idea of who to recruit. But right now, you just have to rely on scouts and AU coaches and talking to third parties. On the Division III side, I kind of touched on emailing coaches and sending them as much information as possible. On the one positive we've seen on Division II side is that starting, I believe the date was June 1st, Division II prospects can go on campus and go on recruiting visits. So that's a huge plus. There's, everything's under the NCAA umbrella, but different divisions operate a little differently. Division I side, I see that being pushed back a little bit just because Division I, you have more kids flying into schools from different parts of the country, so that starts to get a little more difficult. Division II may or may not be a little more localized. So that's a positive. But right now, like I said, it's information and it's people relying on their relationships more than anything right now. And doing virtual visits. I was talking to a coach the other day who I think Chico actually said it as well. We're on the same recruiting seminar when you had him on. We had a coach driving around in his car filming the campus as he drove around.
Yeah.
I know a lot of coaches at the Division I level are doing Zoom meetings like this.
Mm-hmm.
I read an article it was a football article, but about an SEC assistant playing video games, playing Madden with his recruits and just trying to reach kids any way possible. It's a crazy world we're in right now, but the unfortunate side is that a lot of these kids who are, the class of 2021, this is a big spring for them. It's a shame, and hopefully we can play at some point this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to touch on that a little bit. I think that social media in a whole is just another aspect for these kids to get looks, because on my Twitter page, all I'm seeing since this pandemic has happened is guys giving their resumes, their averages per game, their GPAs, their AAU coaches at names and everything. And it's just a new experience that as of right now we have to get used to for these kids to get looks to go to school next year, for 2020 kids at least.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are doing different threads on Twitter and Instagram where kids can post their game film, post their stats. And like you just said, it's all information as much as you have. And even, one of the things, if you don't have a lot of game film, one of the things I think I said real quick before is teams you played against, coaches you played against that you may not know, they may be able to vouch for you. Just like if you're a Division I coach right now, an assistant, just for an example, let's use the Patrick School in Roseville Catholic, and you're recruiting a kid from Roseville Catholic, and you're talking to Dave Boff about a kid. You may call Chris Chavanis, or you may call Phil Colicchio at Elizabeth, say, hey, you played against this kid. Is this kid our level? So you never know as a recruit who's vouching for you, and that's why it's just so important to really, how you carry yourself in games, and you never know the network you have and how many people can actually vouch for you. So I think that can be a unique thing kids do during this time. Maybe reach out to coaches that you played against and have them reach out for you as well. You just never know.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So Brian, the next question that I have for you, man, is the New Jersey basketball scene is known for guard play, an elite level of guard play out there, and elite level of teams in and all. Why don't you give us your rundown on the recruiting for the 2022, 2021, and 2020 class of guys that you think that were getting ready to blow up this summer for the AAU, and guys that are a little flying under the radar a little bit?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with the 2022 class, New Jersey. I'd say in the past 4 or 5 years, this might be the most talented sophomore class we've seen. And it's really guard heavy. There's guys, Mark Armstrong at St. Peter's, Will Richardson at Bergen Catholic, Julian Brown at Bergen Catholic, who, that'll be one of the best backcourts in the state, 2 years from now. Julian gets overshadowed sometimes by Will, but I think they kind of feed off each other really well. Jaden Pierre at Elizabeth has been blowing up. Guys like Ortega at Rutgers Prep. I'm missing some kids, but this sophomore class is just really talented, ton of depth. 2 to 3 of those kids in the 2022 class kind of, under the radar, something we say a lot. But two of them I wanted to talk about are forwards. The kid Emeka Elo, I always pronounce his name wrong. 6'7" kid at Union High School is a kid who moved from Georgia last year. Super talented forward, 6'7", athletic, really grown into his body. He's going to be a name to watch the next 2 years at Union High School. Another big is Zaire Beverly. He's 6'7", 6'8" forward at Elizabeth High School. Zaire is a kid who's kind of grown into his body as well. I think kids have big growth spurts. They kind of takes them a while to really develop the strength and the muscular size that they need. But Zaire in 3 games against Roseville Catholic this year really held his own against Cliff Morey, who's going to Rutgers. Did more than hold his own. I think he didn't really block shots, but just the way he walled up against Cliff and was able to score in creative ways and avoid his shot getting blocked. He really held his own. It was really impressive, and I think he's a name to watch going forward. And the third kid's a kid we talk about, Hoop Group being a down the shore in New Jersey. A kid that really created buzz was Ben Roy at Manasquan. Ben had, in a game I saw, I went to Roseville Catholic, so I'll mention them a lot, but I saw him play against Roseville Catholic this year. It was one of the games I saw, and I was amazed at his poise. Doesn't turn the ball over, scores in creative ways, gets his teammates involved, and really guards the basketball. So, like I said, 2022 class in New Jersey, you're going to see a lot of kids, just offers pouring in for these kids, and hopefully by this summer that those kids will get to see some time. In the 2020 class, and I'll jump back to 2021. In 2020, one of the kids I was going to talk about is Miles Ruth, who just committed to Monmouth. Miles was a kid that wasn't necessarily under the radar, but it just took a long time for people to see how talented he really was. He's a kid that transferred from Linden to Don Bosco for this year, and just ultra athletic. Gets in the lane with ease, scores above the rim. But I think he really fits the MAC style of play. He's a heady guard, really guards the basketball. Speedy, gets in the lane. He really fits the MAC. Another kid in the 2020 class is Ahmad Robinson, Roseville Catholic, I want to talk about him a little bit because people aren't really sure what level he is. He's a kid that obviously played with talented players and against ultra talented guys. Super athletic as well. Somewhat out of control at times, but I think he was just getting better and better as the season went on. He's a name that's probably D2 scholarship kid. Talking to some guys he may prep next year, but he's a name that people need to take a look at really late in the process. And then 2021, one of the guys, I'll just talk about one of the guys in Union County where I'm from that really blew up a little bit later in the years, Isaiah Hill, plays for NJ Panthers and Union Catholic High School. He's a guard that's going to blow up. That was going to blow up this summer. We say blow up for every kid, but it's true. I mean, these kids were really, in your year to 21 class, the April live periods are a huge time for you. And I think that's a name everyone's got to look at. I know he has great grades. The Patriots and Ivies have to be on him. And he's also an actor as well. So some people don't know that. He's a pretty good actor theatrically. So, but that's the name I think people should take a look at in 2021 class. So, yeah, I hope that, there's New Jersey. We talk about New Jersey high school basketball. It's more than ever. There's a ton of guards that, college coaches need to come see. And New Jersey being so small, college coaches can see 10 of the top players in the country all within 25 minutes of each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely. All right, Brian. So the last question that I have for you today, man, is how do you think the rest of this summer with AAU basketball is going to pan out? I know it's kind of hard to talk about because we never know when this pandemic is going to end or when they're going to let people back in the gym and have tournaments start going. But what would your word I'm trying to look for?
possible outcomes or
yes.
Yeah, well, the one thing we saw this week, the NCAA committee met and they made a decision to push back the Division I dead period to June 31st.
Yeah.
So we know that eliminates both high school periods, which obviously there's a major change to recruiting calendar last year. Everybody knows about. But I think two of the positive changes were the 2 high school live periods. I think everyone I went to was really well run. You had the one up in Connecticut, the Knapsack, you had the Philly Live. You had 2 in New Jersey at Blair and Hun, which were really well run. So unfortunately, those are out of the question, out of the picture right now. So that leaves us with July. There's NCAA academies are canceled, but the NCAA hasn't canceled the July live period. So there's still a possibility for that. So we'll see. We're taking things week by week. Well, I know the NCAA will reevaluate June 1st. One of the possibilities, and I know the NABC, the National Association for Basketball Coaches, which is run by, I believe Jamie Dixon's the president now. I could be wrong, who's the head coach of TCU. But they've proposed that we have an August and September live period. Up until, I believe, 2017 on the girls' side, they had a September live period, and it always worked out really well for them. So I think just pushing those back to August and September could be a possibility. But anyone that tells you they know exactly what's going to happen is lying, because we really don't know. We can only just hope. One of the things that a lot of people are talking about, and I think could be really good, is if states start to open up, but Division 1, 2, and 3 coaches can't get out. Maybe you run lower scale tournaments and you live stream them to different coaches. That could be a possibility. But we can be playing AU basketball up until the start of the high school season, potentially. So only time will tell. But I think we've flattened the curve a little bit as they've been telling us to do. So we just gotta keep hoping and praying.
Absolutely, man. Well, Brian, I can't thank you enough for joining me on the show today, man. Hopefully this stuff ends soon so you guys at Hoop Group can get back in the gym, having your camps and having your tournaments this summer. And I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck, and hopefully I'll get to see you sometime this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate having me on, Alex, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes.
Hopefully next time we talk, it won't be virtually.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good. All right. Thank you once again.
All right, man. Absolutely. Thank you.
No doubt.